Did you know that you can hack your brain to learn a language faster? Let's talk about it. What's up, language leaders? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Erica. I'm an interpreter, translator, and language teacher turned language coach, and my mission is to help you love, learn, and live a new language. So guys, I wanted to bring something up today that is very often overlooked, but it is so important. And I'm seeing so many people struggling really with this issue. So I thought it was important to mention. But this is about how our emotions, how our mental state affects our ability to learn language. I just want to give you a very brief explanation of some of the science behind this, and then we'll jump right into the practical. I am not a neuroscientist. I am not a scientist of any type, so I hope that no real scientist gets offended over this overly simplified explanation. But if we remember from anatomy class, right, the amygdala is the part of the brain, part of the limbic system that controls our emotions. So this is the part that takes us into that famous fight or flight mode when it senses danger. Okay, and you're thinking, well, I'm a language learner. I'm not really in any imminent danger. What does this have to do with anything? Well, it's been shown that the brain can perceive emotional pain in the same way that it perceives physical pain. And the reaction that it has can be exactly the same. What type of emotional pain? Well, if we have negative feelings, negative emotions toward our language or toward the process of studying itself, what can happen is that when the amygdala senses this emotional pain and perceives it as danger, then the other parts of the brain that are important for memory and rational thought and learning, the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus, start to shut down. I mean, their function is not as important anymore if we are in imminent danger. So it is really important that we take a look at how we feel towards our language and how we feel towards the study process, how we feel about ourselves, our progress, our ability to progress. All of these things can make a really big difference as to literally how well our brain is going to pick up the language. So we need to create an optimal study environment. So I have a few tips for you as to how to do that. Well, the first thing that we want to do is openly recognize what is causing us stress. So let's take a first example of negative feelings toward our language itself, the language that we're learning. So perhaps we've had a negative experience in school. Many people have had a negative experience with learning a particular language in school. So they're like, I never did well with this in school, and I was younger. So how am I supposed to do well with it now that I'm older? The fact that you didn't do well in school could be for so many reasons. I mean, think back, how was the language being taught? Was it a lot of grammar drills? Were you put on the spot? Were you made to feel uncomfortable? The way languages are taught in most schools typically isn't optimal. So is it any wonder why most people don't really succeed and learn a language or even form a good foundation of the language while they're in school, even those that are sincerely interested? What if you've tried to speak and you've been made fun of or laughed at? Well, who was doing the laughing? 99% of the time, that kind of behavior will come from someone who has never even attempted to learn another language. They have no idea what it's like, no idea what a person goes through, no idea how much work goes into even beginning to start to speak. So you may have to kind of shift your thinking and realize that the opinion of that person, at least in this particular aspect of life, is kind of irrelevant, and put that to the side. Now, on the flip side, we also don't want to take ourselves too seriously. We are going to make mistakes when we speak. Some of them are going to be hilarious. I clearly remember the first job I ever had, I was working at McDonald's, and since I was the only one who spoke a little bit of Spanish back then, I was called to help interpret something for this new employee, this new Spanish-only speaking employee. So I attempted to explain what was going to happen during his first few days or weeks of training, of entrenamiento, but instead I told him what was going to happen during his first few days of entretenimiento, of entertainment. And I repeated the word entertainment, entretenimiento, instead of entrenamiento, multiple times. I didn't know why he was smiling at me, and then at some point I realized that I was making no sense at all. We are going to make mistakes. We really have to learn to laugh at ourselves, not take ourselves too seriously. That's really going to aid in the process of calming our limbic system down and creating a stress-free learning environment. It's also very important to choose to have conversations, if this is within our control, to choose to converse with people who we are comfortable with, and who do make us feel like we're in a safe environment where we're free to make mistakes and it's going to be okay. All right, now for some people, it's not a negative feeling towards the language that's a problem or a bad experience from the past. Rather, it's toward the study process itself. Some of us say, no, I just don't, I'm not good at studying. I've never been good at studying. I don't like it. I hate it. Okay. So what if every time that we go to study, we feel tired or distracted? Well, we may not be choosing an optimal time for learning. So we really have to go through the routine of our day and figure out what is the optimal time for me to sit down and spend some time with my language. We don't even have to call it study. I'm going to spend some time with my language. When can we do that? When is the best time to do that? Some people love to do this in the morning, first thing in the morning. They're fresh, they're bright. Other people do not. They're too busy in the morning, or there are other priorities, even more important, that they have chosen to attend to in the morning. For me personally, I love studying language in the evening, not in the late night, not right before I go to bed, but right after my kids go to bed. Because as much as I love spending time with my kids, I think every parent out there knows that there's sort of this relief when it's like, okay, I can just sit for a moment, free of the kids, and kind of do whatever I want. There's just kind of this relief, at least for me. Okay, y'all know I'm not alone in this. So since I'm on this high anyway, after my kids are just nice and tucked in and have gone to bed, then that's when I choose to study language. I make myself some tea, I have this whole routine, I sit down and I spend some time with French. That's the current language that I'm learning right now. And that has been working out so much better for me than before, when I was trying to just at random moments try to get some time in, and it was hard. It was very hard for me to stick to that. This is working out much better. So choose an optimal time for yourself to spend time with your language and stick to that. In the last video that I did, we talked about habits. So definitely check that one out if you haven't already. Remember that establishing habits and your systems are way more important than just pondering on your goals and where you want to be. You want to have a set routine that you stick to every day, and it will eventually become second nature. All right, so another issue. It's time to spend time with our language, but we would just simply rather be doing something else. It's just not attractive to us right now. We got to make it attractive. I literally use a pretty notebook that I journal in every day to write about my language learning experience, how it's going, how I'm feeling about the language. But it's not just a regular spiral notebook. It's attractive, and I need to see that on my desk, and it just makes me feel like, oh, I really want to write in that, and then I'm going to get into learning, or I'm going to write in that right after I finish spending some time here with the language. Or create an attractive feel-good routine. Like I just mentioned, I like drinking tea. I will make myself some hot tea and sit down, maybe go choose a spot where you don't do anything else, like just your favorite chair, and don't do anything else in your favorite chair except for study your language. Then you're going to start to associate these positive feelings of drinking your hot chocolate, your coffee, your tea, having a snack, sitting in your favorite chair with language studying. Okay, you're hacking your brain. Your brain begins to associate positive emotions with your language. I'm anxious. This is another thing that some people tell me, that they feel anxious when they start to study, not just language, but just anything in general. There's this anxiety. There are these memories of school and tests and exams, and maybe that just didn't go well for many people in school. So one little tip that seems just very oversimplified, is to smile before you start to study. So originally I heard this tip related to phone anxiety, which I have. I don't like my phone ringing. I don't mind so much making a call, but my phone ringing, I don't know who it is until I look at it, or sometimes I still don't know who it is. And I don't like the phone. I don't know. So they say, look at your phone, smile, and then answer it. This helps so much. So we can apply that to a lot of things, not just the phone. Give it a try if you are having problems with study anxiety. Smile, make sure your routine is pleasant, as we've talked about before, and make it attractive, and do everything that you can to be in a happy, positive, confident mood before you start spending time with your language. Last thing, if you're bored, if this is the negative emotion that you're feeling, then you need to switch up your routine. Do something different. Watch a movie in your target language, listen to music, do something that you don't normally do, switch things up a bit, listen to some new material. Maybe you've been working with the same material for too long. Switch it up. You may come back to that later. There's no reason to be bored. Learning a language is hard work, but it's also a lot of fun if you're doing things right. Make sure to tune into yourself, learn yourself, your learning style, what makes you happy, and do more of those things. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful. If you want to know my systematic framework from going to 0 in your language to hero in your language, then download the Framework to Fluency guide that I've prepared for you. I will link it down below, or you can go to ericaraylanguage.com/framework. Like this video if you like it, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I post weekly videos about language learning tips, strategies, Spanish lessons, and sometimes a little peek into Mexico, the country where I now live. I will see you guys next time, but in the meantime, don't forget to go out and live a new language today. Bye-bye.